Hello there. Welcome to the channel. Yesterday I recited the famous poem Richard Cory, written by E.A. Robinson. That poem was a very influential poem in the middle of the 20th century. It was anthologized in lots and lots of high school textbooks. And it was very potent to a lot of boomers. Anybody born between, late 1945 and 1964 would be considered a baby boomer. And during that time, junior year, the curriculum was American Lit in English classes. And that poem is a very effective poem, and it affected a lot of us. And I think, generally speaking, it did some amazing things. And so I'd like to use Robinson's poem to inspire us to write something for ourselves. And it already has. Those of us who are boomers know that Simon and Garfunkel did a song inspired by that poem, and it's not their best song by any stretch, but it was very effective and it was pretty famous. So there are several ways we might take inspiration from Robinson on this poem. The first one is a relatively simple way, is to write a poem in the same form, and the poem is written in iambic pentameter. That's 10 syllables per line in iambic rhythm, with an A-B rhyming pattern. In other words, the first and third lines of each stanza rhyme, and the second and fourth lines of each stanza rhyme. So you could just write that form of poem. It's very effective, and I have to say Robinson uses the form to boost the effect of the poem. He does not make the form, he doesn't let the form run the poem. The poem itself is in charge, the content is in charge, but the form adds to the musicality of what he's doing there. The second way we might take inspiration from Robinson's poem is it's written in first person plural, which is not typical. It's we. Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. That first person plural is different than almost every other kind of point of view. And in fact, I believe Jeffrey Eugenides in his book, The Virgin Suicides, essentially was using Robinson's technique there to create a novel. So you might try to write a vignette of some kind in which you take the point of view of a plural we, a first person plural we. So that's the second way to take the inspiration. But of course, a third way to take the inspiration is to write about your experience of this same mystery. One of the things I really appreciate about the poem, and I think young people respond to very intensely, is the poem does not answer the mystery of why Richard Cory did what he did. We don't really know why. And one of the ways that that poem affects us as readers is we begin to ask the question, what is it? What happened? Why did he feel this way? But one of the things that happens for teenagers when they read it is they realize to be admired, to be sought after, to be popular is not necessarily the key to being happy or joyous. And that's an important thing for students to contemplate, because the pressure to be popular, the pressure to be sought after and liked is intense, because it comes both from the internal and the external. The change in our bodies suggests to us that we must attract someone, we must. And the change in our social situation, because we're becoming young adults, suggests that we must be appealing to others in order to be happy. It seems so elusive and mysterious because it's hard to resolve that need with the reality that it will not necessarily make you happy. Richard Cory is rich, sought after, handsome, obviously intelligent, and it doesn't save him. So we must find in ourselves joy, in our lives joy, in our community we must find happiness. We must look for those things, and we must try to think about them in a different way than our initial reaction to the transition to adulthood might make us look at them. And it's worth writing about. It's worth writing about the people in your lives who, for some reason, did that. I'm going to be talking about someone who did that in my Friday Anomaly. It is a phenomenon that we all must encounter at one time or another because it's part of the human condition. It's mentioned in ancient scriptures, so it's been going on all along. So it isn't a subject that we can necessarily hide from. We need to handle it delicately. We need to think about it when we're talking about it with others as something that could inspire in them great suffering. But we also need to understand that it's part of the human experience, and it is devastating. So you might write about that. You might write about when something like that happened with a friend or a family member and how it changed things, how it revealed things, and how that mystery lingers. That's it for today. I hope you have a much sweeter day than this video was, and I hope you see me again, you gorgeous people.